Video, okay. Hi again. Thank you very kindly for the video. It was an awesome production you guys did do. Thank you. I'm actually doing a retake. Rambling on quite a bit there. So, what do I think of George Hathaway? Well, you got to realize that George lived in Toronto, and I lived in Vancouver. The time I spent with George, perhaps besides U.S. Army Intelligence Security Command folks, Colonel Alexander Los Alamos team, altogether doesn't add up to much time together, although George filmed the first exploding piece of metal, which was a chunk of steel. I think it was like that, about that round, if I remember. He filmed it, and along with Felipe Galuppi of Hypertronics in Brewster, New York, came out as well, and a secretary to witness the demonstrations. Then, of course, later on, George came again with a group from SAIC, and others came to view the experiments. Then U.S. Army Intelligence Security Command Colonel John Alexander and Los Alamos got together and put me in a separate lab where we did stuff for several months, which I spent time with George as well. But the most time I spent was with Alexis Pizarro in Vancouver. And later on, of course, I spent time with Ken Shoulders and Dr. Peter Kokoschnik in Salzburg, where I was a guest for 2 years, living there. Excuse me. With Peter Kokoschnik by invitation, as well as Roland Brito, and my lady at the time was Ian Gasta. Look up her granddad, Antoine Gasta. Interesting guy. I got to see his workshop in Vienna at the Gasta house. Very interesting fellow. And later on I met the owner of the new house in Rhode Island where Antoine Gasta had a shop and immigrated to the United States to make Oerlikon cannons for the U.S. military. Long story, but interesting story, which is quite intriguing. So back to George Hathaway. Okay, so George and I got along okay. Didn't have any arguments or anything. George's a brilliant scientist, and if you want to have something analyzed by George, if it's free energy or junk, George will tell you. Now, most of the free energy stuff out there is just 99.9 pure hogwash. It is garbage. I've been on a few adventures with George Hathaway in British Properties, Vancouver, looking at a device that claimed to be over unity or free energy. It's not. So George is the world's expert on that. As far as his book Mindbenders, it's George's attempt to write a book, I guess, and his frustrations came out perhaps in that book, as well as in other statements George has made, because I didn't want to go to Toronto by invitation of his client, Prince Hans Adam Liechtenstein, who I know as well by letters, and then I met his cousin, Prince Alfred von Liechtenstein, with Ken Shoulders and Henry Dakin in San Francisco. So now George calls it, oh, well, you know, it's PK. Well, I don't think, that's George's opinion. I wouldn't say that it's PK. So onward and upwards. I would think George has probably devoted a lot of time to the H effect, and very frustrating for him that I wouldn't go live in Toronto and do that, because I didn't want to, and I turned down in 2005, I believe it was U.S. Pentagon Group, through Timmy Ventura, turned them down. Apparently, well, I'm told, I don't know if it's true or not, but videos were shown to 400 personnel in the Pentagon location building. So big deal. So what? Um, it's that my life, which is I like doing my own thing, being alone. My adventures with sexual partners, having fun. My adventures with warships, 1994 to 2000. Loved doing that every day. I didn't ask for any money, just stuff I could get off the warships. The project manager, Wes Root, WR Marine in Vancouver, respected all that, and he would always say, "Leave John alone. He takes care of the cannons," which was the 3 and 70s, and at the front of the warships, and at the back was the aft and port and all that stuff. At the back was the 3-inch 50 cannons, which I took all apart. And then I was in charge of all the electronics on the warship, as well as keeper of the treasures, because I found treasures and things never used, spare parts, for all the project managers of the Artificial Reef Society of British Columbia, located in New Westminster, British Columbia, at the docks. I had a lot of fun carrying that stuff up that almost mile-long hill. Okay, so touching briefly on that. Well, moving along to Bob Greener, he's a brilliant scientist, meticulous, very, very active, energetic individual, and the book, I hope, covers all my other things and interests in that, just besides the H effect or Hutchison effect. Okay, well, I have all this stuff in writing, papers and letters over the years from George Hathaway, as well as Prince Hans Adam Liechtenstein. We've been writing each other up to recent times. He sent me a copy of his book, which is, I have it just around the corner here on a shelf. The Third Millennium or something or other. Anyway, so what else was it? I keep forgetting what you're wanting to ask me. So, I am a very private individual. Although I've done all these TV shows, at least 300 of them, going back to 78 with gun control. I was in the news quite a bit on that. The demonstrations as well. I was starting in 85, I think. BCTV, Alan Edwards, Michael McCardle, Grant Fredericks of CKVU TV, CBC Television. These are all demonstrations I did. Then later on, for the Canadian military, Dr. Lauren A. Kuhn, DSTI, which is Defense Establishment Pacific Technical Intelligence Agency, on orders of Deputy Prime Minister Eric Nielsen at the time. Did a day of demonstrations. There were some effects, and they videotaped everything, but they kept the videotapes and said nothing happened. And my member of Parliament, Chuck Cook, tried to get the tapes, but was blocked by the issue. It's a matter of national security. Please take note that Perrin Beatty, Minister of Defense at the time, was going to look at all this. Onward and upwards we go. So nothing really came of that. Then later on, McDonnell Douglas Aerospace, George Jack House came and filmed for 2 days. And I had those videos on YouTube. I took them all and sped them up. And speeding them up, you can see all kinds of weird effects happen, because some of the effects are slow or fast. But when you speed up 8 hours of video, you can see all kinds of crazy things happen. In that video, there was a report written by Jack Haug. With Fire Technology, George Hathaway, there was James W. Black. He was a mystery guy. He was talking about the theft of the levitation device, and that it's all his emails are posted on the website. I think it's PPI Investigations or something. Oh wow, it's been a while. It's been there for a long, long time. But it's detailed emails that James W. Black sent. Excuse me. But he wound up dead. I don't know the full story. George Hathaway, I did mention James W. Black to George. George said, "Oh, he's just some kind of a lunatic." However, I don't know. There was a Tony Traves who put out a good model on what was happening with the effects. He quoted René Louis Vallée of France and Andrea Sakharov. René Louis Vallée and I corresponded because Dr. Lorne Kuhn of DSTI, Defense Technical Information, Technical Intelligence Agency. There was a dispute that Dr. Vallée was saying was that Dr. Kuhn was a member of Mossad. Well, I don't know. Anyway, it sort of goes on and on and on and on. All these things. There was Car Check of Canada, which were agents that hung out with me for a while. Let's see, Bob Garuski. He was an interesting character. He arranged for my return from Germany to Canada. I have that telex. Used to call them telexes. He was a member of CS, Canadian Security Intelligence Services. So going around and around here, there's Mel Ernest Winfield too, who tried to con everybody for money and was caught by Alex Pizarro, which led into an investigation by the U.S. government in regards to Mel Winfield, because he got $500,000 from Undersecretary of Defense. Well, I have it in writing somewhere, but Henry Kissinger, secretary, is wow. Put all this out in a video. It's just the good part is I have all this in writing. Anyway, when I was in Germany and guest of Roland Brito, Max Planck Group, as well as Dr. Peter Kokoschnik, who's had a massive library in Vienna, as well as in Salzburg, where I stayed with Dr. Margarita Kokoschnik, Jens Gazda's sister. Getting along with George Lissacase and Alec Shereshevsky was interesting. We had a lot of major effects. George Lissacase was obsessed with something, and the effects were very dramatic, as well as when I wasn't there, the effects were extremely dramatic. And what I heard from Alec was, when I was in Europe, a transformer levitated off the back of a truck, or floated off, and hit Lissacase and put him in the hospital for 3 months. Lissacase also developed the field stress detector, the work of Alex Pizarro, by the way. He developed that, made himself $70 million, was part of the Stephens group of the Clinton family and all this stuff. If you look up George Lissacase field stress detector, go to website X Energy Company in Alberta, Canada. So George and I had our arguments and fights, and lawyers got involved. Yin got involved, Yin Gazda. The Canadian government took my gun collection and all the equipment and gear and put it somewhere. I made the press. It said Ministry Secretly builds PCB site in Surrey, British Columbia. However, when I got back, Richard Glue gave me all my machine tools back and all the guns back, along with the electronic, minus all the high voltage stuff, though. That was confiscated and taken somewhere. Bit of a mystery. Richard Glue said, it's a story I'll tell my grandchildren. Okay, so that was intriguing stuff. Just so much to cover in a short period of time. So, I kind of get thoughts, and let's see what else we're going to be talking about. The effects. As you may know, I got married to Helena in Scottsdale, Arizona. She tried to convert me into something else, which I didn't want to be. Then I left her in 2007, came to meet up with History Channel, who filmed effects happening with a small boat experiment I was doing, and water levitating and all that stuff. It was called Earth Black Holes. They filmed, and another group came, Polar Shift Film Productions, and filmed the effects. It was Rob Simone, who was the host of the show. It was a good hit. It's up on Vimeo videos. You might see it there. We had a bottle levitating for 15 minutes. Rob writes it up in his notations. He filmed it, high definition footage. Later on, of course, let's see, the effects were starting to reach out into the community of New Westminster, British Columbia, which affected people. Tom Sky filmed the effects, and he got violently sick. Had to go to hospital in Los Angeles from New Westminster. For some unknown reason, those effects seemed to go into people's apartments and create ornaments would fall apart and melt. Dishes would levitate. This is all kind of documented by the news media, as well as the RCMP, as well as New Westminster Police Department, as well as Fire Marshal, as well as the Mayor M. Wright, who is a friend of one of my long-term friends, Cliff Jen, who is a gun collector. Interesting how all this comes together. So I was ordered to remove everything in the apartment, as well as the storage. Nothing of this stuff should exist in my hands. However, I had a lawyer at the time and did not comply and gave some of the stuff away to Paul Pincott of Can-Am Imports, part of Bridge Studios in Burnaby, where they filmed Stargate SG-1 and all that stuff. But however, the media covered it as well. I mentioned this to Ken Shoulders by telephone. I mentioned it to Steven Seagal by telephone. He's a friend of mine. I met him in 2000, roughly, and this is all in 2007, beginning of 2008. Talked to Steven. He wanted to come up and see what's going on. Others wanted to come up. Ken Shoulders. Now, don't forget, I spent a lot of time with Ken Shoulders, visiting him in Los Angeles, as well as with Prince Alfred von Liechtenstein and Henry Dakin. So Ken knew a lot more than, let's say, George Hathaway would, as well as Peter Kokoschnik, and also had a visitor from Germany, Dr. Thorsten Ludwig, who filmed for 2 weeks and got some really cool video, high definition stuff, which is on, some of it was on the internet. And it's a lot of tape. So, let's see, covering a lot of territory, skipping over a lot of funny things. The Max Planck Institute, Berlin University was involved when I was in Germany. Other German stuff. I have all this stuff in a box, a crate of papers and letters and news stories and stuff like that. Plus I have these videos, which I'll just carry you over and you can take a look at them, with a lot of effects on them and TV shows. I don't know if you can see that. We'll just turn you around this way. Over 150 videos. Some up here too. Papers are over here in the container, stacked full. Let's see, what else I'm supposed to talk about. Whoa, okay, so I've been busy moving cannons today and got a little endorphin high, so I'm talking fast, good. I'll get you positioned there, hope it didn't go off. It's still running, okay. Alright, oh. Anyway. How do you like my little skirt? Yeah, I'm androgenic, by the way. I'm into life extension as well. Highly sexual individual. Good for life extension. Have my other interests. Cover vintage Navy stuff. Firearms, of course. I've always had a firearms acquisition certificate. It's a firearms license in Canada. They can allow you to buy anything, fully automatics. Pistols, rifles, and all that stuff. I don't have one now. They kind of expired a little while ago, so if I was insane, then the RCMP would not issue me those permits, as well as flying with boxes of firearms. I have all the documents on that. So I had to sign documents, say they're unloaded and all that stuff. So insane. I guess George was wired up or something for him to say that, or he's really ticked off. Hi George, sorry about that, but you know, I met George again in, I think it was when I was with Corinne, another lady friend, 2001 or 2 or 3, something like that. In 1993, George came out to pick up Alec Pizarro's possessions because he died, and Dr. Hal Pudok came out as well. And Dr. Pudok stayed an extra day, and I showing them my crystal power cells stuff, which I did get funding for. It was funding to produce a product that could be carried by a factory, but the Japanese have made many power cells for them and sent them over to them, and they were very happy with it. And they $250,000 at a time sometimes. So I was doing okay. TV shows paid great money, close to 300, if not more. Peter Von Puttkamer, Griffin Film Productions in Canada, sells my footage for $150 per second. And one day I made 40,000 when I was with Helena in Scottsdale. The Japanese bought up many minutes of footage. I got 40,000, so I had $80,000 of footage. NBC bought footage, Fox TV bought footage, blah blah blah, Discovery Channel, and so on. I haven't done any really biggies TV shows lately. The last one was kind of a farce. It was with the guy from Coast to Coast. Richard Surrett came with the film crew in 2017. Filmed all day, stayed in Gold Beach with us, and filmed again. I never saw anything of it, although I was a guest on Coast to Coast with Richard Surrett. Before that was Jesse Ventura, called Death Ray True TV. It was fun working with Jesse. And before that, it was other shows for Discovery Channel Network and Fox TV, TLC stuff, news stories, and blah 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 blah. Anyway, covering a lot of territory in a short period of time. Let's see. So I hope that the book that comes out with Bob Greener will have more of a flair to it. Like, write me up as I really am, plus my other interests. Anyway, covering George Hathaway. What else? PK stuff. You know, I did get invited to go work with George, as I mentioned before, in Toronto, as well as Prince Hans Adam Liechtenstein mentioned that as well. I got to work with George Hathaway. I have all these boxes of letters from both of them. However, I didn't do that, so I guess George was ticked off. What else can I talk about? Much stuff to talk about. I'm getting hoarse here, aren't I? I did a previous video, but I deleted it. It didn't seem too good. I looked at it and said, nah, I don't think you guys would like that video. So I bet you guys like me doing stuff, I'm sure. I've been doing it all day long. I mean, physical activity. Cannons like to be lifted and pushed and moved and shoved. Do you know how heavy cannons are? All right, Major. Oh, let's see. We covered Bob, great scientist. George, very brilliant guy. Good for solving things dealing with free energy and that. PK, I don't think so, because others have replicated what he's doing. Let's see what else. One of the best demonstrations was BCTV with Alan Edwards. That was levitation of a big chunk of heavy foam material, non-magnetic. It went right up to the ceiling of 12 feet and slowly came down. Plus there was a piece of metal that went jellified, and that was caught on film too. What else? That was one of the best. A few others, of course. Well, let's see. You mentioned your email. Okay, Georgie, we covered him. Hi, George. If you want the videos, I'll send you the video that the effects are affecting the city of New Westminster. There was one powerful wave went out and affected a huge amount of people. And Dr. Danny mentioned that to me, and she knows about me. She's Dr. Daniela. 604-524-48. No, that's my phone number. 604-522-5402, I think it is, or 5401. Anyway, we've been friends. She's supported me in life extension for decades. there was a doctor there to a biologist who mentioned the effects radiated out and caused something at the same time that I mentioned Tom Sky got sick. So I'm gonna shut down right now and get you guys a little later. You can send me emails. I don't mind doing the videos, they're a lot of fun. Good break from moving stuff around all the time. And thank you very kindly. Catch you guys later, okay? Thank you.